Former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan made a surprise entry into the Maryland state race to replace retiring U.S. Senator Ben Cardin. Hogan, who served 2 terms as Republican governor in a bluer than blue Democratic state, immediately established himself as a leading candidate because of his name recognition and the ability to raise vast, and I mean vast, sums of money. Laurie, Hogan was either going to run for president or sit out the Senate race. What changed?
It was a big surprise to me because I thought he had turned it down a long time ago and had left that and was considering running for president. But maybe he saw that there is a pathway if he gets in the Senate and is there for a while as a moderate Republican, that he, after 4 years of Trump, which he's probably realizing there's a likelihood it could go that direction, people will be ready for calm and moderation possibly, and they might really want to vote for him at that time. But now's not the right time to vote for Hogan for president. So maybe he's going to get through. It depends on, how everyone feels in Maryland if he's going to make it to the Senate.
Okay, well, we'll see if that political calculation is correct.
Yeah, so Mike, maybe also just another thing I wanted to mention, he probably noticed the negativity that Chris Christie was bringing about and how that just didn't work. And he was bringing on that negativity too. So I think that he realized that wasn't a good strategy.
Well, we're going to get to that part of it about how, whether or not the Republican Party is still going to support him. But first, I want to go to Mike. The smart boys down at the National Republican Senate Committee had this to say: Governor Hogan's entrance into the Maryland race has already sent Democrats into a panic with worries over money and a divisive primary of their own. Are the Republicans counting chickens before the eggs are hatched?
Well, I think a little bit. First of all, I just want to comment on Laurie's response. I think now is actually a perfect time for Larry to run for president. It's exactly now, not 4 more years of, even a potential of 4 more years of Trump, but nevertheless. Coming back to your question, Casey, I think that I guess I was surprised at the polling that I've seen, given the fact that former Governor Hogan is the only candidate in the race that's actually won statewide, that he's neck and neck right now with Congressman Trone, and only a slight lead over County Executive Alsobrooks. And so I think that I found that to be quite interesting. I would think that he would have come into that race, given how he'd done, with a much stronger standing than that, especially given the fact that we have a contested primary on the Democratic side. So I think that I think that bodes well for the Democrats, which is not a huge shock, as you indicated. It's a highly Democratic state, but Governor Hogan did a nice job, I think, of bringing people together, and I think he has a good reputation. And so I was surprised at how close the poll numbers are right now.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, and I didn't look. I saw some of those same poll numbers, Mike, but I didn't get peel the onion to see which voting group was being tested. But this is the question for Laurie, because Laurie, as you noted, Governor Hogan had a contentious relationship with President Trump during his last term, his final term in office, and Republicans have shifted from the moderate phase to more of the Trump support. Are Republicans going to support Larry Hogan statewide?
I think a lot of Republicans are trying to decide that right now. I think they're going to watch Trump to see, Trump, going to watch Hogan to see how he is with Republicans, because he seemed to turn away from Republicans near the end of his term. And I don't think he will. I don't think he should run as a Democrat, because I think he would have lost the race in the primary. Alsobrooks and Trone would probably stand a better chance of beating him in the primary, but he does have a chance of winning in the general election. I do think there's now that John Teichert has dropped out of the race and supports Hogan, I do think that he will win the primary now. But I think Republicans will come around. I think what the key thing that we really need to think about, people are worried that he might, that Hogan is going to be too far left and he's going to be like Romney. Well, the biggest thing I'm thinking about is we will, if we have the majority in the Senate and we get rid of Schumer as the head of the Senate.
How about getting rid of McConnell? How about getting rid of McConnell?
Well,
Get rid of that
I
old
don't think,
fossil.
I
Get
don't
rid
know
of that
if
old
McConnell will
fossil.
stay in. He's getting awful old, and I think maybe he'll step aside, maybe.
No, he
and,
won't.
someone else
No,
will.
these guys, the ego. Mike's the only smart politician that ever got out. Their ego is too involved. Anyway, Mike, let's go back to what Laurie just set up for us, which is, despite Hogan's popularity as governor, some of that bloom has left the rose. You know, we hear some criticism coming out of Annapolis now about the job that, Larry Hogan did. And that, either Congressman Trone or County Executive Angela Alsobrook, are they going to be able to exploit that?
Oh, I think definitely. I think Governor Hogan did while he was in office, did a nice job of kind of threading the needle on issues that weren't necessarily states' issues, and could say that certain things were already settled in law. So in dealing with issues like reproductive rights, he kind of got to take a pass on those things. Well, those are issues that are going to be front and center in the Senate. And so he's going to have to answer some of those questions, and those are going to be challenging. We've seen this past week with Nikki Haley with the issues with IVF down in Alabama. Those aren't easy answers for a Republican candidate to answer right now. And I think Governor Hogan was going to have to figure out how to do that in a way. Does he continue kind of in a case of moderation, which I think is one of the reasons he was very attractive as a candidate in Maryland broadly, and now to try and go back to appeal solely to a Republican base? I think that becomes a really difficult challenge for him. But I think from a broader Republican perspective, I think he's the kind of voice, that voice of moderation, I think, as Laurie said, that the country is looking for. But right now, everyone's still spoiling for a fight and wants to see if you have your bona fides. I'm not sure where he stacks up
looking for moderation right now, to tell you the truth. Both sides are, are on the ramparts. Anyway, I'm not going to put you on the spot by asking you for predictions as to the primary or to the governor's race. We'll just have to wait and see. But it's a lot more fun to talk about with Larry Hogan in the race.